demon being present when...
If indeed it was.
Yeah, when Tommy did the same thing, and the exact same thing. And the thing is, he didn't do it until 1992. Here's the other thing. Tommy lied the night of, or I should say, he lied the day after. Now, I can see why Tommy would leave a few salacious details out. I can see why he would leave out the part about the hands pants. But you don't have to lie about when you actually parted ways with her, and that would be useful information for the police who were trying to establish the time of death and what her movements were. But he lied. Well, hang on. There's no conceivable reason to lie when he could have just sanitized his account, except he wanted to remove himself as far away in time as he could from the actual time of death, which he knew.
He doesn't have to have known the time of death. We talked about this earlier. Mm-hmm. You're a 17-year-old kid. Mm-hmm. You've been playing tickle with a girl, and you know that's not going to go down well with your family, let alone the cops, now that she is found with a golf club stuck in her neck.
Mm-hmm. But
of course you're gonna try foolishly, because you don't think clearly in the heat of the moment. You're putting all of your investigation time to say, well, obviously it would make sense, but you don't know that at the time. For him to go, I don't know, no, we kissed and we walked away. We weren't doing anything untoward, nothing at all.
But here's the deal: is that again, Tommy didn't. He could just sanitize his account. All he needed to do was say, yeah, we hung out, we sipped beers, we smoked a cigarette, we parted ways at 10 minutes till 10. And you're giving police, because again, at this time,
but he may not have known what time it was.
If Tommy didn't do the crime, then Tommy had no clue what the time of the murder was. As far as Tommy knew, it was midnight, it was 3 a.m., he had no idea.
Well, he knew he went and saw a TV show at some point, and he may have done really crappy math as to what time he left her. But I don't know, Joe. I mean, I understand that you feel that it is really, really important that he changed his story the way he did. I don't see it the same way.
I think it casts a lot more suspicion on Tommy than it does on Michael. Michael had better reason to leave out his account of climbing the tree and playing pocket pool. Tommy had no reason to not tell the police the time that he parted ways with Martha.
I want to clarify.
Yeah.
When he told police that, was it after they found her body or before they found her body?
That was after they found her body.
Okay.
But before any time of death had been established.
Yeah, it takes a while to establish that.
Yeah, it does.
Within a good solid window.
Yeah, it does. And so again, that's a little bit of a head scratcher when he could have provided them with a little more solid information, that he chose to lie instead.
Well, realistically, I have a really crappy sense of time, and I couldn't tell you, this episode feels like it's been literally 10 hours. But, it's been, like 2. So I think, for me, as somebody with a really bad sense of time, it's reasonable to say, I don't know, we hung out for 10 more minutes.
Well, then if Tommy had a bad sense of time, then how do we know he parted ways from Martha at 10 minutes till 10?
We don't.
And not 10:15.
Right, we don't.
We don't really know that.
Right,
it just seems to me that
the later it goes, the later her time of death is. For me, it's just saying I don't know.
I mean, not to sound like a jerk, but it could have been that he hung out with her for 5 or 10 minutes, and she talked to him the whole time, and him being a typical dude is like, this has been going on for so long. She just won't stop talking. It feels like I've been here for 20 minutes.
Alternately,
and wander away.
Alternately, right? You ever been having sex and been oh my god, this is the most amazing hour of my life, and you look at the clock and you're like, it's been 5 minutes. Do you ever do that though? Ever in your life have you been wow, this is amazing, and then you realize
your sense of time is completely
so
skewed.
There's also, I guess, some reality to him, them engaging in whatever we're calling it, hands, pants, or whatever, right? And them both thinking oh my god, or him particularly being wow, that was an amazing 10 minutes. But actually it was an hour, or even vice versa, where he says, wow,
it was half an hour. It's 2 minutes later.
And then, Ken says, no, dude, you were here, 10 minutes later. And he's like, oh, really?
Well, honestly, I don't know how Tommy kept track of time. They might have had clocks. He might have glanced at clocks the whole time, or he might be off something.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that he deliberately chose to put himself as far away from the time of murder as possible, which, in my opinion, is suspicious behavior.
You can't say that, Joe.
Why not?
You cannot say he deliberately did it.
Of course he did.
You don't know that.
Yeah.
You can't say that. You don't know that.
He had no reason to do otherwise.
He may not have done it intentionally.
Well, how can you say that?
Because we just had the conversation of he may have a crappy sense of time, so you can't say he's doing it intentionally.
I think it was Peter.
Parker?
Okay, we'll go for Peter.
Spider-Man?
Yeah, Peter Luca. Yeah, the nice thing about Peter is he's one of the dead ones, so you can accuse him of all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
True.
So, in fairness to Tommy has lived under a cloud of suspicion for many, many years. I think a lot of people still suspect Tommy of being the killer, and we don't really know. I mean, Tommy is. I still like Tommy Jury. I would not vote to convict Tommy of anything. I would.
There's no solid evidence anywhere.
No,
so.
No, there isn't. And so whoever killed Martha, I think that he's gotten away with it. But that happens.
Or she.
Good point. Good point. Yeah. Well, let's do some of that housekeeping stuff that we do at the end of the episodes. Yeah. First of all, our website, thinkingsidewayspodcast.com, where you can find our episodes. You can't comment anymore, unfortunately, but you can still listen to the episodes.
Yep.
And there's always links out there also to various stories and things and sources. You can also download and listen to us from iTunes, where you should subscribe and give us a rating and give us a review, hopefully a really good rating and review. And streaming, there's everywhere. There's Google Play also. Social media, we're on Facebook. You've heard about Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Hope so. There's a group.
Once or twice.
Yeah. Well, there's a group and there's a page. You want to join the group, of course. We're on the Twitter. We are Thinking Sideways without the G. And a subreddit. We have a subreddit called Thinking Sideways. And, of course, if you want to get in contact with us, we have an email. You've heard about email, right? This new amazing thing, yeah. It's called, our email is thinkingsidewayspodcast@gmail.com. If you got anything you want to tell us, criticism especially, send it to us through the email. We accept criticism, although we prefer compliments, but, we'll take feedback too. You can also support us. First of all, merchandise. You'll find on our website links to fun things like shirts and mugs and stickers. There's Zazzle and Redbubble stores linked in the right-hand panel of the website. There's also, if you want to donate, you can donate through PayPal, which would be a one-time thing, or Patreon. And Patreon, it's patreon.com, patreon.com/Thinking Sideways. And that's one where you pledge an amount, and then they take that amount out of your credit card or whatever for every episode. So you can pledge $1, $1 million. That would be really nice. But just remember that whatever you pledge, it's not a one-time thing. It happens every episode.
Yep.
Except for the shorts. Occasionally we put up shorts and special things, and we don't charge for those. So if you want to support us that way, that would be awesome.
And thank you for everybody who has been.
A lot of people have.
That.
Yeah, we do appreciate that. It really helps to defray expenses. So that's it. The murder of Martha Moxley. I guess we got to wrap this mystery up. You guys have any final thoughts?
Wasn't me.
Yeah. Wasn't me either. So anyway, too bad about Martha. Too bad about Michael. But anyway, that's it for this week, guys. See you next week.
Wasn't me.
This week's episode of Thinking Sideways is not brought to you by the North American Marlon Brando Lookalike Association. Instead, it's brought to you by our advertisers. In order to support our show, of course, we need the help of those advertisers. And in order to find those advertisers, we need to learn a little bit more about you. So please go to podsurvey.com/sideways. You can take a quick anonymous survey that will help us get to know you a little better. And that way we can show our advertisers just how great our listeners are and what they're interested in. And even if you've taken a podcast listener survey before, this one is specific to our show, so we really do need you to take it. And also, a little bonus here, once you've completed the survey, you can enter to win a $100 Amazon gift card. So again, that's podsurvey.com/sideways, podsurvey.com/sideways. Thanks for your help.
Thinking Sideways.
I don't get it.
I brought the aliens.
You must unlearn what you have learned.
I don't know.
Stories of things we simply don't know the answer to.
Well, hey there, and welcome again to another episode of Thinking Sideways. I, of course, am Steve, as usual, joined by...
Devin.
And Joe. Hi.
Hey, and once again, we have another mystery for you. This week, as I always do, I'm pulling from the listener suggestions, and this was suggested by Adam and Matt originally, and I'm sure a bunch of other people, but we didn't have room for your name in the list. But the story that we're going to talk about this week, as Joe has dubbed it, is the murders of Mary Morris.
Good one.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually possible to murder somebody more than once.
Turns out.
It sort of sounds that way. So let's just hop right into our mystery.
Okay.
Our mystery begins on Thursday, October 12th in 2000. 48-year-old woman named Mary Henderson Morris got up for a normal work day at her job at Chase Bank on the west side of Houston, Texas. Her husband Jay walked her out to her Chevy Lumina at 6 a.m. when she typically left, and he watched her drive out of the driveway, turn onto the road, and presumably drive off to the place where she normally stopped to get gas in the morning.
Why did he walk her to her car?
Because that's just something they did.
Okay.
It's probably, walk out in the... Some folks do that. They walk their spouse out to their car and give them their coffee and a kiss and a hug, and off they go. Mm-hmm. And that's what he did.
Unlike me, who just grumpily rolls out of my bed and into the car. And
and your boyfriend says, don't get killed.
Yeah.
You say, sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So he watches her drive away from their home in Burnett Bay. She may have been seen at a gas station shortly after she left her home, and that gas station was at the junction of Interstate 10 and Thompson Road. And there's a bunch of gas stations right in that area, but she, from there, presumably would have gone on her normal drive heading west across the city to where her job was.
She never got there?
Well, the thing is that Mary and Jay were very close, as we realized from his walking her out every morning, and they would talk on the phone several times a day, but he made several calls to her cell phone, and she never answered. And he thought something was a little off about that, but, maybe it's a big day, busy day, whatever, except that at about 2 o'clock, somebody called the house looking for Mary, and not knowing who it was, Jay just said, well, she's at work. He would later learn that person was actually from Chase trying to find out where their employee was.
It seems like they would identify themselves, though, doesn't it? Doesn't it seem like they would say,
yeah, that's what I was
hello,
thinking, too.
Husband of our employee. This is your wife's employer. We are just wondering where your wife is.
If it was a certain level of manager, I could see that. If it was a certain employee that was, say, in charge of employee scheduling, and why hasn't this person showed up, and I'm always calling on these yahoos who don't show up, maybe not so much.
I just feel, maybe.
Yeah, no, I get you. I'm not in disagreement. That's
okay,
weird. They didn't identify themselves.
So at 2,
this person calls but doesn't identify themselves. After I think it's about 4 o'clock, Jay and Mary's daughter, Marilyn, they're getting worried. Where is she? She hasn't come home. Eventually, they find her cell phone in the house. So now they're thinking, oh, God, she's been in a car accident or broken down.
Was it set to vibrate, I hope?
I'm presuming.
It must have been, I hope.
Yeah, you would hope.
Yeah.
But at this point, they're thinking, well, something's gone wrong and she can't get a hold of us. So at about 5 o'clock, Jay calls the police and he reports her as missing. At about that same time, the sheriff's department, they get a call about an abandoned vehicle that's been burned. That car, which is about 3 miles, or that equates to about 5 kilometers east of Mary and Jay's home.
Which is the opposite direction of where she worked?
Absolutely correct. She worked on the west side of town. This car is east of where they live.
Okay.
The call comes, the cops get this call about this burned out vehicle. Well, earlier in the day, the fire department had actually got called for smoke in that same area. The call had come in at about 10:20 a.m. The fire department said it looked like it was burning leaves. It's October. that people are burning leaves. So they didn't bother to investigate.
But burning leaves usually smell like burning rubber.
Well, burning leaves tend to be very smoky. I am pretty sure is what that boils down to. But the long and the short of it is that the fire department doesn't go check it out. But when the cops go to check out this burned vehicle, what they find is a vehicle that has apparently been soaked in some kind of accelerant and lit on fire. And the fire has been so intense that it has melted every piece of rubber on the vehicle. Like the tires came off of the car. The heat was so intense. Inside of the vehicle...
That's been a good accelerant. I got to get some of that stuff.
It must have been. But inside of the car, they find a body. And they don't know who it is, but eventually what they're able to do, using tooth fragments that they reconstruct, they determine that indeed it is Mary's body.
Or somebody's body.
Well, no, it's Mary, because it's her teeth in her skull. So they know it's her.
Well, somebody could have put them there, but okay.
Oh, you two, cut it out. Right away, and you're already doing this to me. Just monkeying around on things.
Yeah, because you never do that to us.
Nope, never. Yeah. I am an upstanding mystery citizen. I don't do that kind of stuff.
She's alive on an island with Dorothy.
Nope. So anyway, she does not go to Dorothy Island. She is indeed found in the car. Like I said, they don't know, they figured out, but because of the fire, they don't know what the cause of death is. I mean, her body has been burned so severely.
Maybe smoke inhalation?
There is nothing about Mary's life, though, that is an apparent motive for why someone would want to do something like this to her. I mean, the police said the only thing they can confirm that are missing is her purse and her wedding ring.
But could they actually confirm that the purse was missing?
I thought the same thing. I have to guess that they would have found a pile of melted whatever the material is and the plastics that your credit cards and all of that stuff are made up in your
little
ID.
Metal things that hold the handle to the purse and stuff.
There should have been a pile of that detritus, and there wasn't. Or debris, not detritus, but of debris. So that's why I thought the same thing.
And now, other question, crime scene, no gas can or anything like that was found in or near the vehicle?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
So like I said, though, is that, we just discussed the purse, but also her wedding ring. We'll talk about her wedding ring more in detail later, because that is something that people point at as kind of a seedy or nefarious thing, and we'll deal with that when the time comes. I have to tell you now, though, that the next thing that I'm going to say, which happens a day or so after Mary's body is found, is always referred to as alleged. In other words, this is something that I cannot confirm, but I have to share it because it's in all of the stories. And that is that supposedly, allegedly, somebody called the Houston Chronicle and they said something to the effect of they got the wrong Mary Morris.
Ostensibly.
Exactly.
That's the word you were looking for.
It is.
Oh, of course. That's always the word.
Now, I think it goes without saying that obviously Jay and Marilyn, they're both devastated by Mary's death, because there's nothing that seems to have motivated this. It seems very random. She didn't live any kind of crazy life.
Oh, but she did work for a bank.
She did work for a bank, but it wasn't as if it was a really crazy crash time.
Yeah, true.
So after her funeral, Marilyn, her daughter, calls the medical examiner's office. This is on the 16th. There's effects. At which point they told her that the effects and the body would be available at the same time, which freaked her out because they just had the funeral and she can't understand what they're talking about. And so she goes down there.
Did she go dig up the coffin?
No, she goes down to the medical examiner's office and they show her a body, which is not her mother.
Is it Mary Morris, though?
It is indeed Mary Morris.
Huh.
It is Mary McGinnis Morris. So we have two Mary Morrises. Mary McGinnis Morris is a 39-year-old wife and mother who also lived in the greater Houston area. She didn't know Mary Henderson Morris at all. The two didn't know each other.
Maybe for the sake of easiness, it might be easier to call them Mary 1 and Mary 2.
I think I'm going to stick with Henderson and McGinnis.
Okay.
Okay? It's going to be better, because 1 and 2 is easy for me to confuse. McGinnis lived about 10 miles away from Henderson, McGinnis originally was from West Virginia, but she had moved to the area in 1998 to take a job with Union Carbide. She was a nurse practitioner, and she had taken the position of medical director with that company, so she had moved there for that job.
Sounds like a good job.
On October 15th, which was a Sunday, McGinnis ran a number of errands